still sticking on the East Coast, the Baltimore Ravens. 13-4 last year. Same head coach, John Harbaugh. Same offense, Todd Monken. He's the OC in his second season. Hopefully he learns to run the football in the playoffs this time and not rely on, quote, the greatest quarterback to ever live, end quote, John Harbaugh. That man said by the end of Lamar Jackson's career, he will be the greatest quarterback to ever live.
Hey,
I think he forgot other people who have lived before Lamar. Listen, I'm all for having faith in your guys. If Gerard Mayo came out today and told me Drake May's the next Tom Brady, I'd want him fired on the spot because that's not the case. Just be realistic with me. He came out and said Jacoby Brissett's the most pro-ready quarterback. One, thank you, Gerard. Couldn't figure that one out. Drake May hasn't taken a snap yet, but he was realistic about it. John, what are we doing, buddy? Like, that's too much. But anyways, Lamar's QB4. Josh Johnson, the NFL journeyman himself, is the backup right now in Baltimore. I love that. Derrick Henry, the new toy for the Baltimore Ravens, RB9, and a steep, and I mean steep drop-off to RB2, Keaton Mitchell, RB68. So for those of you, at least for this year, who had Keaton Mitchell in Dynasty, you may be waiting an extra year because I don't think he's surrendering many. I don't think Derrick Henry's surrendering many carries to Keaton Mitchell.
Plus, Mitchell had that late injury that people tend to forget about. He may not even be ready for the first couple weeks.
Rasheen Ali would have given you a million guesses, and nobody outside of Liz would have known the RB3 on the Baltimore Ravens. And Justice Hill still kicking around there at the bottom of the depth chart in Baltimore, RB77. Zay Flowers, wide receiver 25. Rashad Bateman, steep drop to wide receiver 75. Devontae Walker, 83. Nelson Aguilar, dog, 126. And Tylan Wallace, the punt return specialist. That's the guy. You remember the punt return against the Rams? That was Tylan Wallace.
Yeah.
Currently not being drafted. Mark Andrews, tight end 4, in his backup, who, if Mark Andrews ever leaves the field, is a very good asset in fantasy football. Isaiah Likely, tight end 22. And we will start with the new toy in the backfield with Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry. I think this was the dream scenario that pretty much everybody had conjured up when Derrick Henry said he was leaving Tennessee. I don't think anybody wanted Derrick Henry to go anywhere else outside of Baltimore because of their run-first mentality, the idea that Lamar Jackson will take attention away from him in the run game. Yes, he's older. RB9 is the back half of being an RB1. How do we feel on Derrick Henry, Liz?
I love that you mentioned this, and I feel like Henry, because of his volume of work, is a little bit like you can't just give him a minute, right? There's so much data here, but I do want to give him some kudos. He's averaged at least 12 fantasy points per game every single year since 2018. That, to me, kind of that's like such a wonderful stat to understand what you're dealing with. He's always evaded, like he's the anomaly of the position, right? He's always evaded tackles. He's ripped off big games. More than 8% of his total runs went over 10 yards last year, still in that mess of a Titans offense at RB13. But it is worth noting that he's coming off of his fewest number of rushing yards per game, 68.6, since 2018. That average might have been low, but his total rushing attempts were sky high at 280. There is a clear correlation between volume and production, especially when you're looking at his age and the efficiency that has waned over the years. But he's going to Baltimore, right, Joe? Like, that's perfect. No problem. Maybe a little bit of a problem. Baltimore, yes. Yeah. Led the league in rush attempts, 541 last year, but Lamar Jackson carried the rock in 27% of those instances. Gus Edwards, Gus the Bus, he logged 198 carries, which accounted for 37% of the team's totes. That's 82 fewer carries than Henry, whose rushing opportunities, by the way, made up 63% of Tennessee's grand total of ground attempts in 2023. Obviously, Derrick Henry is not Gus Edwards. He is going to command a bigger part of the offense that Edwards, but he's not going to exceed or even match, in my estimation, his touches from a year ago. And while Jackson's prowess as a runner certainly opens up lanes for Henry, it's unlikely that those big runs that I talked about, that 8%, will be plentiful enough to thrust the 30-year-old into top 7 running back territory. So as long as we, again, manage our expectations, is he an RB1? Yes. Are you getting a copy and paste situation? No, you're not. Maybe he's a top 10 player and you're going to be happy with that. But this is not, oh my God, King Henry 2.0.
And maybe Todd Monken blackballs him because he went to Alabama and Monken came from Georgia. So, there's a real low chance that happens, but it could. Who knows? I still can't believe the man's 6'3", 250 pounds.
He's a freak.
He's a freak in nature, but I think that's Liz's point is we're still stuck in that 2019 freak of nature Derrick Henry.
And he still is that, right? It's not that he's still an RB1, but the excitement over his landing spot did not properly correlate with what he should projectedly do this coming season.
Sure. And this to me is a really good would you rather game. So he's currently RB8 right now on ESPN. We're going to go 6, 7, 9, 10. I think this is very interesting. So 6 is Jahmyr Gibbs. Liz, Jahmyr Gibbs or Derrick Henry?
I think Derrick Henry.
Ooh, okay. Ryan.
Jahmyr Gibbs.
No. I take it back. Well.
You said you had him as your 8, right? RB8?
I know I have him as my 10. I wanted to double check. Okay. I have him as my 10. Gibbs is my 8. So, yes, I do take it back. I do take Gibbs.
Okay, Josh.
I'll take Gibbs. I have Gibbs at 10. I have Derrick Henry as my RB14.
Ooh, okay. I would also take Gibbs. Kieran Williams or Derrick Henry? Liz. This is a really good one, right?
This one is a good one.
This back end of the RB1. So after McCaffrey, Hall, Robinson, Barkley, Taylor, those are all very clearly your top 5. This 6 through 10 range is interesting.
I will admit to having faded Williams because I'm such a Corum stan. But I think over the top half of the season, that really won't come into play. So I will have to go Williams on balance, even if I don't like it.
Okay, Ryan.
I want to see more of the preseason from Williams just because on top of Corum, there's also a foot injury that they've been talking about. I think Derrick Henry is safer. I'll take Henry.
Josh.
I do agree that I think Derrick Henry is safer, but Derrick Henry typically struggles out of the gate in September. So, and I think what a lot of people are forgetting in Baltimore, they lost 3/5 of their starting offensive line from last year.
Yeah.
And so
and they
I don't
good
know
pieces
that,
too.
Yeah, and I don't know that. I mean, look, we know that Derrick Henry is great, but his efficiency has dropped quite a bit the last 3 years. So you take away key offensive line pieces, it may not get that much better, even when you account for Lamar Jackson. I'm going to still lean Kieran because I think that he's going to be the guy there, even whether Corum cuts into it or not. But they have a really good offensive line in Los Angeles with the Rams. So I think Kieran can maintain a lot of that efficiency.
For the purposes of the exercise, Kieran Williams, I wouldn't take either of these guys personally on my team, but for the purpose of exercise, Kieran Williams. Isaiah Pacheco or Derrick Henry? Yes, I did just say Isaiah Pacheco. Liz?
Pacheco. He's my RB6. I'm in love with where to get him.
Ryan?
Pacheco.
Oh, God. Josh?
Yeah, Pacheco.
Oh.
That hurt me to say. It really hurt me to say.
Guys. He runs with his eyes closed. I just can't. I can't be on board the Pacheco
I think that Patrick Mahomes is going to open up that downfield so much more this year, and that's just going to open up so much more for Pacheco.
That'll help him. I'll give you that. By principle, Derrick Henry. I can't with Isaiah Pacheco. I can't. I don't get it. If you want to, sure, you're probably right. In all honesty, I just can't. But Derrick Henry or Travis Etienne, the RB2 last year, I believe. Liz.
I have him back-to-back in my rankings. I'm going to go ETN by a hair.
Okay, Ryan.
I am very high on ETN, so it's ETN for me.
Josh.
Same. ETN is my RB6, RB7.
ETN was painful on my team last year, but he did.
Yeah, the tail end of the season did not help him at all.
Look, he had that sweet stretch of like 9 touchdowns in 4 weeks.
So this is what you do. You draft Travis Etienne. You let him eat for the first 2 months of the season, and then swing a trade to go get Derrick Henry for the downstretch.
Look at this.
That's how you win fantasy championships, people.
Look at this. We've learned. Beautiful. Okay. And we'll move into the receiver room. We'll go to Zay Flowers. Josh, wide receiver 25. Realistically, there's not another receiver competing with Zay Flowers for targets.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I was really like, after Ryan took Mark Andrews and Liz took Derrick Henry, I'm like, so do I talk about Lamar Jackson? Do I talk about Zay Flowers? I'm like, we all know what Lamar Jackson is.
I got to be honest.
Go ahead.
Same exact thing. After I saw Liz with Derrick Henry, I'm like, I don't want to talk about anyone else in this team. They are who we thought they were.
They're very appropriately priced. This team, I feel like, is very appropriately priced. Even when I look at my rankings, like I had Zay Flowers as wide receiver 22, so it's not that much different from where he's being drafted. The thing that I found really interesting was even when you look at like past Ravens offenses, taking Todd Monken out of the equation, the last few years with Lamar, it's been one wide receiver. It's been Mark Andrews, right? Hollywood Brown was that guy for a little bit. His best season came the year that I think it was 2020. And that was the year they had like 600 pass attempts because he had 146 targets. It was wide receiver 22 that year, and Lamar only played like 12 games. They're not going to throw the football that much. They have a strong running game. They go out and they get Derrick Henry because they're going to continue to pound the rock, and they're going to keep their pass attempts in that 28 to 30 and a half, 31 range, right? Like that's just kind of where they're going to live, which is going to kind of limit the opportunities. But the correlation, I think, when you bring in the Todd Monken system is that he typically has a wide receiver one that he targets. You know, when he was in Cleveland, when he was in Tampa Bay, that wide receiver one got fed 24 to 25% of the time. So I think that this could really be the year that you see Zay Flowers kind of take a step above Mark Andrews. He did out-target him on a per-game basis last year, but we know that Mark Andrews missed time, so those numbers can be a little bit more skewed. But I think Zay Flowers can top 7 targets a game. I have him about at 122 targets, but I still think that's, you know, it's a wide receiver too. Like that's basically what you're drafting him as. And I think he's appropriately priced. You just kind of want to see more touchdowns. And even for winning the MVP last year, Lamar with only 24 passing touchdowns, feels like he can still improve upon that. And he has topped it twice in his career.
Where Zay is currently at is wide receiver 24. And when I tell you he's behind Devonta Smith, it feels aggressive, but Devonta Smith is a full round ahead of him. They are 12 picks apart in average draft position. So there is a clear tier drop-off.
Yeah.
And also Zay Flowers is in the same conversation as Malik Neighbors right now, which, again, still doesn't feel right that Malik Neighbors is that high. And then it goes to Tank Dell, and Tank Dell is 8 picks behind Zay Flowers. So he's kind of just chilling by himself right now at 62, in between Devonta Smith at 50 and Tank Dell at 70, and this is overall draft position. Because then you go Tank Dell, Calvin Ridley, George Pickens, T. Higgins. They're all within 4. Those are the next 4 picks in the 70s right there. So Zay's kind of chilling by himself. So we go to the appropriately priced part of this team. You now go to Mark Andrews, Ryan, who is, you have to say, Lamar's number one target, whether that, you know, doesn't show up in the stat sheet. I'm sure Zay will have more targets than him, but his number one most reliable target. Mark Andrews is tight end 3 currently, and he's in between Laporta, way far down from Laporta, but then McBride backs him up about 9 picks later. Go ahead.
I'm seeing tight end 4. Where are you getting 3?
Tight end 3 on ESPN. I'm looking at it right now.
Okay, what is does it show their overall? Because that's kind of the argument I'm going to make here.
The overall is 42 for Mark Andrews, and then it drops to 53 to Trey McBride.
On Fantasy Pros, they're showing 50, and there's not a ton to add here. You've kind of said it. Andrews is still likely the number one target, though, full target wise. I think we're just baking a lot into what happened last year with Andrews missing time and forgetting that he was a 150 target guy 2 seasons ago, 116 a season ago. Obviously, last year with the injuries didn't hit quite those numbers. But what is interesting in fantasy football right now is with the love of these young tight ends, Mark Andrews is all of a sudden a value in the 4th to 5th round, where it used to be Kelsey was the back end of the 1st, but you still had to pay a mid-second for Andrews. I think we see the tight end landscape kind of fall back into line a little bit this year, though not with Kelsey running away with anything. But I have Kelsey as my 1. I have Andrews as my 2. but the price disparity makes Andrews the far better value. And I just think it's odd that we're seeing that in fantasy right now, that one injury prone season, or not even really injury prone, but one injury marred season has made Mark Andrews a value, and it's a value I'm going to take in quite a lot of fantasy drafts.
And we'll add, if you're really that worried about the injury with Mark Andrews, just take Isaiah Likely with your last pick.
Yeah,
and just
the only tight end handcuff in fantasy football history.
Like truly, because the moment Mark Andrews gets hurt, Isaiah
people
Likely
will spend their entire fab, especially this year. Likely fab got insane last year. Now that we've seen it, you will see 100% of fab blown on Isaiah Likely this
year. And to be fair, nobody, like, you're in a, let's just say it's a normal like 16, 17 round draft that most seasonal fantasy.
You're cutting that last guy anyway.
You're cutting that, like that last guy you take is a shot in the dark. Might as well handcuff that tight end with Isaiah Likely.
Don't even worry about even if you didn't take Mark Andrews, take Isaiah Likely, because if Mark Andrews gets hurt, you just had the best trade piece in the history of fantasy football.
So. That as well. You could also be the asshole of the league and take Isaiah Likely and not have Mark Andrews as the handcuff. That's Ryan, 100%.
Liz, I'm really curious where you land on these two pass catchers, Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews, kind of like the target distribution. And
I have Zay Flowers as my wide receiver 24 and Mark Andrews as my tight end 3.
Okay.
So literally where they are currently being drafted on ESPN.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I'm saying. Like, this team is really appropriately priced.
It's almost like she works for the network, guys.
I was going to say, it's almost like when you have a prominent voice of fantasy football who actually influences how people draft.
They line up perfectly.
Yeah.
I do think, though, that Zay is under... I appreciated hearing where he was relative to those other players, because I do feel like there is a not ready to believe it feeling surrounding him. And I don't know if it was because of like the frustration with the drops towards the end and the penalties, towards the end of the season. We always tend to remember what we saw last first. I don't think that that's it. I just think there's a reluctance to buy into. It's hard to negotiate that, yes, Todd Monken was brought in to improve the passing game, and yet still the Ravens led the league in rushing attempts, right? Yeah. So it's a hard thing for people to take charge of because it's so paradoxical. But I think Zay Flowers could be a breakout candidate. It's also, they're just so, the wide receiver 3 and wide receiver 4 is such a glut of options and players that you can make a pro or con argument for every single receiver between 20 and 40, frankly.
Mm-hmm. So those groupings, it's kind of funny looking at ADP right now. You have proven commodities, DJ Moore, Cooper Kupp, Devonta Smith, 21 through 23. Young, flashy, Zay Flowers, Malik Neighbors, Tank Dell. The ups and downs, Calvin Ridley, George Pickens, T. Higgins. Mm-hmm. And then old men, Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper, Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin being on the younger end of the older side, but still more older vets. So it is interesting to see those little pairing of groupings there. And Zay Flowers very clearly in his group is the guy. I yes, agree. Tank Dell is fun, but he may be the fourth option in the offense, and he's coming off an injury, so that doesn't help.
It also kind of makes sense when you think about the mind of a seasonal fantasy player. The first group you mentioned, the young guys, they all have season-long breakout potential. The second group have week-long breakout potential. You're hoping for the big weeks. And then the old guys are just like slow and steady wins the race. So they're the more boring picks.
Well, again, Keenan Allen, a wide receiver 30. What are we doing? Come on. This man is the
all
man's
day. All day.
Dog, wide receiver 1. Liz, what are your thoughts on Keenan Allen real quick?
They better be positive.
I don't know if you really want me to get into this.
Right, that's fine. That's fine. You can end it there. Yeah. That's fine.
Yeah.
Liz, that was hilarious.
Massive Keenan Allen fans here. Huge.
Why not talk about that after the show then?
Wonderful human. I just don't think that a 32-year-old slot receiver is going to be the Bears' savior.
In a new offense with a rookie quarterback.
Also, can we, this is the point. This is not statistically based. This is completely gut based. But Keenan Allen was like, deuces, I don't care about playing video games. I'm going to continue working and having my career. I'm not interested in developing a rapport with this kid who wears nail polish. I'm out. It's not like what I don't get the buy-in. And
Liz,
so I'm not buying in.
Liz, I respect your opinion, but I think you're wrong here. And that's, you know what? That's a gut feeling. That's a gut feeling.
Yeah,
that is totally fine.
I don't think we can call it a gut feeling, Joe. I think it's a heart feeling.
Dude, I've been riding Keenan Allen since since San Diego Chargers. Like I've been that's been my guy. So, but everything you're saying, so accurate, so incredibly accurate. Me, I just don't care, and I will be drafting Keenan Allen.
We all have those players, Joe.
Wherever he ends up. Who is that player for you, Liz? Who's that guy? This
year, it's been Isaiah Pacheco. We can continue to fight, right? Like I don't mind that he's extra.
Yeah.
I like it. Go out there, be extra, dance all day, score touchdowns. I don't care. In this offense, like, you know what? Dance all day to Taylor Swift, even better. I am here for all of it.
I just can't stand the running like he's trying to push his legs to the other side of the earth. That's the thing that, like, I don't know why.
It doesn't amuse you? I find it. I think it is so fun, though. It's like
it feels like I'm laughing at him, and I don't want to do that because he is a decent football player. It just feels kind of. It feels like he's a marching band.
Can't you? I'm just going to ask you this year to look at it and try to appreciate such a player who is so inefficient in his movements, not at all economical.
You know what? Whatever you're going to say, I buy in because you said that. Because you said that, I buy in. You said he's
not economical.
Inefficient
in his movements.
He moves
inefficiently.
He does double the work of everybody else.
That's fine. I'll buy in.
He's doing it in an offense that is lit and absolutely efficient. So that paradox is art.
He's inefficient in an efficient offense. That is fine. I'll buy in now. That's the greatest description of Isaiah Pacheco I've ever heard. I'm now officially bought in. And what Liz is bought in on is Lamar Jackson over 650.5 rushing yards. That's minus 130 on ESPN bet. Why does that feel like a layup?
That's what I'm saying. Liz found the free money bets.
Yeah, that feels like a
layup.
Well,
because that was the assignment, you guys. You were like, find the best bets. And then I was like, oh, here they are. Like, I don't know.
You might be the only person that actually took bets literally. So thank you.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah. He's cleared this line every single year of his career, including his rookie year. I mean, there's that. He's averaged over 9 carries per game every year of his career and at least 5.5 yards per carry every year since 2019, even if his rushing attempts went down to 8 carries per game, and he maintained the exact same level of efficiency but missed 2 contests, he'd still hit 660 rushing yards. So yeah, dame the over.
Yeah, this is the type of prop bet that you build parlays around. Like, take the layups and then build the parlays. And
you parlay it with your bet of Derrick Henry over 10.5 rushing touchdowns. Excuse me. I was going to say rushing yards, and that would have been the real layup there. But 10.5 rushing touchdowns. That's minus 110. Both on ESPN bet. You can go parlay those right now. And then Ryan, you have the Ravens score 1 rushing touchdown in every game, and hell, throw that one in the parlay because that's plus 2,500.
I did just like the difference, and I understand the Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry difference, but plus 7,000 from the Bills to plus 2,500 with the Ravens. So.
It is crazy. It is crazy. And that
it's the Derrick Henry effect. I mean, 6 straight years he's hit 10 or more touchdowns, right? And then you factor in Lamar's running. They don't have a running back that's going to score that level.
I will say, of all of the ridiculous bets I found for this segment, this one feels like the one I want to put the most money on, because with Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, if there's a team is going to score a rushing touchdown in every game, it's the Baltimore Ravens.
I really feel like there's been a bad best bet out there to kind of even like the underdogs, not the ones where I told you guys to just go spend $10 at McDonald's and throw your food out the window because that would be a better use of your money.
Which one that was. You were so mad about that.
You said the dumb shit like the Broncos to allow the least amount of points in the NFL or something like that.
Yeah, it was that one.
Sure.
I'm happy with.